Letitia. Insults. Kash Patel. Sit down backward. Indian. Savage Kash's. Next response. Strangles her. The moment Letitia James's voice sliced through the Senate chamber, everything changed. Her words were cold, calculated. Sit down, boy, or better yet, go back to India where you belong. The air stiffened. Whispers scattered like falling glass. Phones lit up. Reporters' fingers froze mid-keystroke. In that instant, the focus wasn't on auto pens pardons or executive orders. It was on Patel and the insult that had just carved through the room. Kash Patel rose not in fury, but in clarity. He clutched the binder he had carried for months, stacked with metadata IP logs, internal Slack messages, and digital forensics. His voice didn't tremble. I was born in America. My parents came here for freedom. I belong here as much as any of you. Okay, sit down, Mr. Patel. The adults are talking. Letitia James's voice sliced through the chamber like a blade dipped in contempt. Her tone carried the weight of title and the sharpness of disdain. Kash Patel didn't flinch. He had been called worse in darker rooms by more dangerous people, but this wasn't about personal insult. This was about the country. Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, stood tall and stern. Her blazer was immaculate, her posture unyielding. She was a veteran of the courtroom and the press conference podium, and she had one mission today: discredit Kash Patel before he could burn down the narrative. Across the aisle, Patel calmly opened his thick binder. Pages of printed metadata, Slack logs, and digital forensic charts lay neatly organized. He didn't look up. I'll speak when it's my turn, he said, voice level. It is your turn, snapped Senator Miles. Proceed, Mr. Patel. Patel adjusted his mic. The evidence I bring today isn't speculative, he began. It's digital, traceable, and logged. He raised the first document. Executive Order 8829, dated October 3rd, 2023. Signed with an auto pen while President Biden was at the G7 summit, visibly disoriented and under medical watch. Letitia smirked. A logistical signature. Are you suggesting criminality from illness? No, Patel replied. I'm suggesting fraud from substitution. A stir rippled through the room. He clicked a remote. Behind him, a screen illuminated timestamp overlays of executive orders versus medical incidents. Red markers lit up like wounds. Every red point, he explained, represents an executive action initiated during a documented episode of presidential incapacity. Senator Miles leaned in. And who executed these? Patel tapped the screen. Device VP03. Location FLTS Terminal Biden Institute, Delaware. Authenticated via metadata, not the White House, not the executive office. Letitia cut in. Are you accusing the First Lady of impersonating the president? I'm stating facts. And the facts trace command authority to her office. Another document appeared. A Slack message: hold until Jill clears. A second signature ready, just need VP03 live. Letitia raised an eyebrow. So now we're prosecuting shorthand. No, Patel replied. We're illuminating intent. He turned a page. 42 executive orders, 8,000 pardons. Over 500,000 foreign nationals granted parole. All routed through a system lacking biometric validation. All coinciding with donations to the Biden Institute from shell companies. Letitia's voice dropped to a calculated calm. And you think those numbers scare us? Those are administrative. Executive discretion. Patel nodded. Then let's test that discretion. He revealed a whistleblower statement. Internal clearance protocol. No action unless FLTS confirms. Cross-referenced with access logs. Only one profile had unbroken access during all key sign-offs: Jill Biden. Letitia folded her arms. You brought paperwork. We brought the Constitution. Which do you think holds? Patel didn't blink. If unelected hands guide the pen of power, then we're no longer governed by law but by arrangement. The room hushed. No rebuttal came immediately. He pressed play on a short audio clip. Jill Biden's voice. This signature is our insurance. Letitia's expression froze for half a second, then reset. Senator Miles cleared his throat. This committee will break for recess. Mr. Patel, return at 2:00 with your secondary data exhibits. Patel gathered his documents in silence. Letitia whispered as he passed, "You'll regret this." He paused, then turned. "I don't regret protecting a republic, but you may regret exposing the shadow ruling it." Outside, protesters clashed in chants. Insurance signature trended within the hour, but inside that room something had cracked. Not a verdict, a veil, and behind it the storm was waiting. 0 p.m. The chamber doors opened with a slow creak. The same seats, the same tension, but the air felt different, thicker, charged. Kash Patel stepped in with 2 new binders, one red, one gray. Senator Miles gave a nod. "You may begin." Patel set the red binder on the witness table. "This is the continuity protocol file," he said. "It maps executive actions against periods of medical incapacitation. What it reveals is a pattern not of coincidence but coordination." He flipped to the first tab. January 9th, 2024. 3 to 17 a.m. Executive Order 8952 authorized sweeping changes to parole eligibility. At that moment, President Biden was under sedation for a neurological procedure. FLTS Terminal Z04 was active. Letitia James sat motionless, only her eyes narrowing. "Who authorized it?" she asked coldly. Patel looked directly at her. "The user login reads JJ Biden DC02. It matches access records used by Dr. Jill Biden in prior logged sessions." Letitia scoffed. "You traced a government decision to a login alias." Patel opened the gray binder. "This one contains cross-verifications, network login timestamps, terminal location confirmations, and biometric usage reports. Each instance where a major order was signed remotely during incapacity aligns with a single operational hub, the Biden Institute, Delaware." A new document flashed on screen. An internal email subject, "Signature required, clearance needed, body FLTS, verified, VP03 green, proceed, Jill will confirm final transmission." Gasps echoed across the hearing. Senator Miles held up a hand. "Order." Letitia shook her head. "You're building a house of cards. Orders don't equal illegal acts." Patel leaned forward. "Unless those orders reshaped immigration for 500,000 people, transferred international aid in billions and all, while bypassing required biometric authorization." Letitia countered, "You're insinuating a secret government." "I'm exposing unauthorized government," Patel said, eyes sharp. "And now I'll show the trail." He pulled out 3 whistleblower affidavits. All 3 testified to a pattern memos routed through the office of the First Lady requiring FLTS confirmation before any executive action advanced. One line stood out: Jill Biden reviewed every file. No FLTS clearance meant no action. Letitia's voice now bristled. "And you think this proves guilt?" "It proves command," Patel answered. "Unaccountable, unelected, and uninterrupted." A final slide appeared: clearance frequency by operator. The name JJ Biden DC02 dominated the chart. "The DOJ has seen this," Patel concluded. "And if this committee won't act, they will." The room sat in silence, reverberating with a truth too big to ignore. Outside, barricades strained against swelling crowds. Inside, the silence spoke volumes. By 3:00 p.m., the hearing room had become a furnace of unease. Reporters whispered with guarded urgency. Cameras zoomed in with calculated precision. Letitia James leaned back in her seat, arms crossed, expression impassive. But beneath the polished calm, she could feel the tremor of narrative slipping. Kash Patel stood again. "Let's move forward with operational authority paths," he said. "We are now shifting from circumstantial irregularities to confirmed policy manipulation." He motioned to the screen. A new exhibit loaded auto pen deployment matrix, October 2023 to April 2025. Rows of executive orders, immigration memos, and foreign aid packages appeared color-coded in red and yellow. Patel explained red means the president was documented as medically unavailable. Yellow denotes orders signed from a non-White House IP. The screen was nearly all red and yellow. "This isn't just questionable," Patel said. "It's unconstitutional." Letitia broke her silence. "You continue to twist technical procedures into accusations of treason." "Then let me untwist it," Patel responded. "Here is an internal directive dated November 12, 2024. He held up a memo. Action required all parole-related orders must route through FLTS protocol overseen by JB Team, VP03, to be designated primary for sign-off. JB Team Senator Miles echoed. Patel nodded. Jill Biden's operational circle. The same group connected to donor meetings at the Biden Institute. A chart followed donations by date juxtaposed against clemency orders. The overlap was glaring. Letitia interrupted. Correlation doesn't imply criminal intent. It demands inquiry, Patel said. And now we move to the digital audit trail. He clicked the remote. A forensic analysis from a private cybersecurity firm appeared. Here we have metadata extracted from VP03. This device was activated over 60 times during known health lockdowns, each instance tied to major federal action. No biometric key, no EOP verification, just FLTS manual override. The room tensed. Letitia stood. You present this like a coup. But where is the harm? Did these actions destroy the Republic or merely maintain continuity? Patel's tone dropped an octave. Continuity without consent is control. This wasn't governance. It was governance by proxy. Letitia paced, and if Jill Biden had refused, left the executive paralyzed during Biden's medical crises, that would have triggered the 25th Amendment, Patel said, which requires congressional oversight, not clandestine substitution. He lifted another folder. This is Dr. Kevin O'Connor's second memo. In it, he explicitly states the president is not in condition to review nor authorize any policy decisions. I recommend full temporary transfer of authority under Section 3. Letitia paused mid-step. Patel continued. That memo was buried, never logged officially. Instead, 3 orders were signed within the next 24 hours from Delaware. Another exhibit appeared, the auto pen logs. Time of day, IP address, no biometric scan. Then came a final blow, an intercepted message from a FLTS staffer. Get it cleared through Jill tonight. POTUS will be on sedatives after 9. Letitia's composure slipped. You're manipulating fragments, framing the First Lady like some deep state puppet master. I'm not framing her, Patel said. I'm showing the frame she operated from, Senator Miles interjected. Do you have any direct acknowledgement from Dr. Biden? Patel nodded. He played a video deposition. Jill Biden seated, hands folded, voice steady. When the team needed decisions, I advised. When they needed certainty, I approved what I understood. It was never about power, it was about protection. The chamber went quiet. Patel ended with a simple sentence. And therein lies the problem: intent doesn't overwrite structure. Good intentions don't legitimize unauthorized authority. Senator Miles announced a 30-minute recess. Outside, the crowd roared louder. Inside, Letitia stared at the binder. This was no longer about winning an argument. It was about defending the line where power becomes permission. And that line Patel had just drawn. The gallery was full, but the silence was unbearable. News anchors whispered behind raised folders. Phones buzzed with live reactions. Even the Senate aides looked more like stunned observers than civil staff. Kash Patel returned to the center with one final binder. Black with no markings, no labels, only weight. This, he said, is the operational heart of FLTS. Letitia James narrowed her eyes. Another binder. Another theory. Not theory, Patel replied. System logs, direct from the Biden Institute server room seized under emergency subpoena by federal marshals less than 72 hours ago. A new slide appeared. Title, FLTS Protocol Root Command Architecture. The room froze. The schematic was undeniable authentication trails routed through a private terminal. The node ID matched VP03. At the center, accessed by JG Biden DC02 and 7 support accounts, all traced to First Lady staffers. Senator Miles leaned in. Where does this fit in the legal hierarchy? Patel didn't hesitate. Nowhere. It bypasses it. This was an unofficial parallel system handling official authority. Letitia interjected. That's speculation. You have no proof those authorizations became law. Patel tapped again. A document populated. Executive order. Transmission verification 0OT1625. Auth code match FLTS override signature complete. Underneath it, a White House response timestamp logged 3 hours later with the note confirmed accepted. Forward to Federal Register. The order was processed, Patel stated. Not just generated, but accepted by the federal bureaucracy. No verification. No challenge. Letitia's voice sharpened. You want us to believe the executive branch didn't notice its own orders came from Delaware? Patel responded evenly. They noticed. They were told not to question it. He clicked again. A Slack thread. Where's the president? Still under eval. Jill's got it handled. FLTS just needs your okay to push. Fine. Just do it. Gasps echoed again. 3 White House aides, Patel explained, each now under oath in DOJ custody. Letitia James rose. This entire hearing is a circus of innuendo. You've weaponized metadata into conspiracy. You've politicized the role of a spouse into a federal indictment. Patel held up a redacted transcript. In 18 depositions, he said not one staffer testified that the president personally signed those orders, but over half admitted to receiving policy directives from the office of the First Lady. Senator Miles asked quietly, "Did any staff object?" Patel shook his head. No, because they were told this was temporary protocol, because Jill Biden's word had become institutional shorthand for executive direction. Letitia James's voice was now deliberate. And what do you want us to do, Mr. Patel? Overturn, policy prosecute her for governing in a void left by medical chaos? I want us to protect the Constitution, Patel said. No one elected her. No one voted for FLTS. And yet for 2 years it functioned as the true seat of power. He stepped back. A new voice broke the air. DOJ investigator Miriam Lent stood from the gallery. The department confirms we are opening a formal inquiry into the unauthorized use of executive mechanisms under Title 18, Section 1001. Letitia James turned slowly. You're charging the First Lady. No, Lent replied. We are investigating her role within an unlawful executive substitution system. The gavel cracked. Senator Miles spoke with calm dread. This committee will reconvene in 48 hours for vote on full DOJ referral. We are adjourned. Letitia stormed out. Outside chants swelled. Inside, Patel quietly packed his final binder. It was no longer about data. It was about accountability. And that finally was coming due. 2 days later, the chamber returned to life, but not peace. Outside the Capitol, the atmosphere had curdled. Protest lines wrapped corners. Barricades groaned under pressure. Placards called for resignations and reform in equal measure. Hashtags swarmed digital feeds, proxy presidency signatures of shame FLTS fallout. Inside, a tension more clinical had settled. Senators arrived with files thicker than usual. Legal aides whispered like spies. The vote was coming. Kash Patel stood once more. This isn't just about Jill Biden, he began. It's about structure, about what we allowed to become normalized. Letitia James returned with fire in her walk, but a quieter tone. She didn't interrupt. Not yet. Patel lifted a final exhibit. This is a chronology of deception. The screen showed a side-by-side breakdown, left public schedule, President Biden right, FLTS log activity, dozens of mismatches. Biden attending events while FLTS terminals issued orders. Ghost governance, Patel said. Signed in his name, but not by his hand. Letitia finally rose. And what does this prove? She asked. That we had a medical crisis and filled the void. That the First Lady showed loyalty, not treason. Patel didn't blink. It proves that power bypassed accountability. He presented 2 new witness statements, both former FLTS tech operators. One line stood out. VPO3 ran 3 to 5 daily commands during Biden's downtimes. Jill was the final green light. If she said no, it waited. Letitia pressed forward. Why didn't anyone blow the whistle earlier? They did, Patel said. We just weren't listening. He played a clip from an October 2024 White House press gaggle. A reporter asked if President Biden had personally reviewed Order 89983. Response. The president is fully briefed. The First Lady has been coordinating transitions. A pause. Transitions, Patel echoed. Not oversight. Not temporary. Routine. Senator Miles asked how far did it go. Patel opened a sealed envelope. This document traces policy shifts, parole approvals, trade deferment, sanctions lifted tied directly to donor activity at the Biden Institute. He revealed a spreadsheet. $9.4 million in contributions, 12 shell donors, all within 96 hours of executive actions. The silence was volcanic. Letitia snapped. "You've turned this hearing into a witch hunt." "No," Patel said calmly. "I've turned it into a mirror." Senator Miles stood. "This committee will now vote on formal referral of Dr. Jill Biden for criminal inquiry under federal law." One by one, the names were called. 11 votes in favor, 9 against. Referral confirmed. The room sat still. Until Letitia James quietly said, "Then may the courts prove you wrong." Patel nodded. "They'll prove something, one way or another." Outside, reporters ran. Inside, the machinery of justice turned. Next stop, federal court, and the Republic would watch every second. May 5th, 2025. By noon, headlines bled across every network. Breaking Senate refers Jill Biden case to DOJ. Cable news dropped their regular coverage. Podcasts pivoted, TikTok influencers lit up live streams from Capitol steps. But the quietest face in it all was Patel, the whistleblower who refused applause. That evening, DOJ filed a formal notice of inquiry. Within 48 hours, federal subpoenas were issued. A sealed warrant allowed forensic teams to examine the Biden Institute's private server cluster. What they found altered the landscape. Inside a climate-controlled basement room labeled FLTS protocol, agents discovered a master authorization log with 74 command entries, 3 mirrored terminals tied to VP03 direct access credentials linked to Jill Biden and senior aides, and one final file titled Advanced WH. Meanwhile, Jill Biden was served a notice of deposition. Her legal team mounted a defense of necessity. She acted in crisis, not conspiracy. Patel stood firm. Intent matters, he told the press. But so does the method. The Constitution doesn't allow well-meaning substitution. As court proceedings approached, more whistleblowers stepped forward. One, a former senior aide, testified she ran point. She didn't pretend, she directed. Another admitted draft clemency approvals were tagged JB1 internally. If they weren't cleared by her, they didn't move. Then came the financial tracing report. The Biden Institute had received $19.3 million from flagged entities over 22 months. 11 matched to executive actions within 5 days. The DOJ brought forward their lead prosecutor, Miriam Lent. She stated plainly, "We aren't reviewing impropriety. We are charging unauthorized execution of federal authority." On May 22nd, the trial began. Inside the federal courthouse, Judge Reyes presided. Jill Biden entered with her counsel. Cameras were not allowed, but the transcripts would soon echo through a nation. The DOJ laid out their case: FLTS terminals used in lieu of direct presidential input, Slack communication showing directive language from Jill Biden medical documentation, proving Biden's incapacitation during signings metadata, proving her presence and sign-off on key decisions. The defense called it continuity. The prosecution called it impersonation. Kash Patel was called as final witness. He recounted not only the data but the erosion. This isn't just about one terminal or one family, it's about precedent. When a first lady governs without oath or mandate, the republic trembles quietly. On day 10, the jury retired. 41 hours later, they returned. Guilty. 3 counts: unlawful execution of federal authority, obstruction of oversight, conspiracy to impersonate an elected official. Jill Biden's sentencing was set for July. In response, Congress passed emergency legislation known as the Patel Protocols. All executive actions must be accompanied by biometric verification. Any 48-hour incapacity triggers congressional medical review. No auto pen usage for clemency or foreign policy without oversight. Finally, a proposed 29th Amendment Section 1. No non-elected individual shall execute federal authority. Section 2. All executive actions require logged verification. Section 3. Any violation triggers automatic judicial review. Jill Biden, in her last public statement, wrote, "I never wanted power. I wanted to protect it. But I see now protection without consent becomes presumption." She was sentenced 7 years, federal 3 years suspended. The nation watched her leave court. No cuffs, just finality. Patel never gave a victory speech. But months later, the 29th Amendment passed its first congressional hurdle. He declined interviews. But outside the Oversight Committee's door, a plaque appeared, the signature that shook the Republic and the hand that wrote it back. And the Republic, still fragile, still flawed, held. July the 15th, 2025. Summer's heat shimmered on the marble of the Capitol steps. Inside, air conditioning hummed over solemn voices. The sentencing had passed. Jill Biden was already 3 days into her sentence at a low-security federal facility. But Washington was still trying to find its footing. Congress had convened for a special post-trial session. The 29th Amendment was on the floor for debate. Kash Patel wasn't present. He had returned to his private office, binder finally closed. But across the country, his words echoed in classrooms, courtrooms, and kitchens. On the Senate floor, debate was less partisan than predicted. Even longtime critics of Patel conceded the undeniable procedure must never be substituted with familiarity. Senator Miles introduced the final reading: power must remain visible, verifiable, and voluntary. That is the foundation of trust, and without it, our republic is just a ritual. By sunset 64, senators voted yes. The amendment moved to the states. Elsewhere, Letitia James held a press conference. No longer defending Jill Biden, she spoke with composed candor. We were not ready for the void that emerged, and in that vacuum, instinct replaced institution. That must never happen again. Protests faded. Petitions multiplied. Political parties rewrote sections of their executive guidelines. And in the Biden Institute's old FLTS room, now sealed under federal oversight, a single quote was engraved onto a steel plate mounted on the wall: "Intent is no substitute for legitimacy." As autumn approached, the first 3 states ratified the 29th Amendment. Kash Patel returned to his quiet routines, offering no comment, because history no longer needed his voice. It had already listened.